Thank you. How's everybody doing so far? Having a good day? I apologize ahead of time because I speak like 3 words of French, and so I am going to do this in English. So thank you for listening. So let me tell you a story. In 1989, a young, bright, enthusiastic training developer starts her first job. She's just come out of university, in which environment she had access to the best tools, something called word processing, where she was able to actually type, edit, and print her own documentation or her own essays. So she starts her job. She's just been hired to train front-end cashiers, and she is also going to be required to create some documentation along with it. Excited on her first day, she walks into this environment and finds out that it takes 3 people to write 1 training document or manual. 2 people to sit beside the only person who has a computer. She is horrified by this whole experience. She lobbies to get her own computer, and lo and behold, the organization buys into it, and the first self-managed document is published at Loblaws for the use by the cashiers. And that was my first. I have seen, in the 38 years that I've been at Loblaws, huge changes to the organization and the way that we do things. And this next 10 minutes or so is about how I've been able to cope with those changes and arrive here today as the learning practitioner that you see before you. Who here actually works in as a training practitioner, learning practitioner in their organization? Awesome. Thank you very much. And for those of you who remember this dot matrix printer and the old stuff, we've come a long way. Think about how today's instructional designer actually creates documentation and how many people it takes to create documentation and to create each of the assets that we use in our organization. Before we get into it, though, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Loblaws. The first Loblaws store opened in 1919 in Toronto. So next year, we're going to be celebrating a bit of a milestone. Loblaws currently has 5 divisions. Who here has shopped at a Maxi, Pharmaprix, Loblaws, Provigo? Okay, awesome. Thank you very much for your business. We employ about 200,000 employees around the country in those 5 divisions. We have 2 learning management systems. We're lucky, very much lucky that way. And we have 2,400 stores across Canada. I've been with the organization 38 years, as I've mentioned, and I lead a team of 25 individuals who actually supply the learning collateral that our organization uses coast to coast. But at Loblaws, we like to talk about the whole person, not just the work person. So I want to tell you a little bit about me and who I am. My family, my son and my husband both chose a profession that is going to keep my hair gray. My son is an aspiring pilot, and my husband just retired as a firefighter. In my spare time, I love to play video games. I'm what you would call a gamer. I don't fall into the general demographic, but I have played video games since the first Dragon's Lair came out, and you actually had to go to a parkade where you would play those games. And to this day, I still love it. I love to travel. And I've traveled mostly through Europe over the last little while, and I've found a way to merge those 2 interests together. Because in a game I used to play called Sid Meier's Civilization, there are 21 great wonders, and to this day I've managed to visit 11 of them. I've got 10 to go, and that's really my bucket list to finish off that list of 21. But now back to reality and how the business has changed for a learning professional. we have seen it grow from being able to just type documents and do most of the training through documentation, to the online, to computer-based training, to content curation, through adaptive learning, through interactive video, and of course VR and AR. We spend a lot of time talking about those. The modern instructional designer has to learn at a pace that has never been before because technology is overtaking everything that we do. The modern instructional designer has to reskill every 1 to 2 to 3 years. In other words, attain new skills that they're going to have to use. And for me, I think that the things that are driving some of these changes are demographics. At Loblaws, we have a population that starts at 16, so we have 16-year-olds who first join their company as a first job, and then we have individuals who are working past retirement, 66. That's a 50-year time span from a demographics perspective that need to account for in our learning environment or our learning ecosystem, as I like to call it. Technology is also changing. Not only the technology that we're using to develop training or to develop learning, but also the technology that our audience is requiring us to teach them. I have spent the last 10 years or so developing system-based training. In other words, how to teach people how to use a new system. That's like 70% of the stuff that we do. And last year and the year before, I thought, oh my goodness, there can't be another system that Loblaws can implement. There can't be. I think we've gone through them all. But every single year, I have 30 to 40 to 50 projects that are system-based alone, because the technology continues to change, adapt, upgrade, fix, everything like that. And so we've had to figure out how to address that learning. We can't write 200-page manuals anymore. We cannot write even 50-page reference guides anymore. We need to figure out how to provide that training in small snippets. Nelson talked about that too. Small snippets of information delivered at the right time for the learner, the way that they're consuming training, and in the place where they're at. I like to call it the in the moment of performance need, and you might have read some articles around that as well. So technology not only as a driver from the changing for the audience perspective, but also for the instructional designer. There's also efficiency pressures. Who here, and we talked about it today, automation, agility, AI, efficiencies, cost reductions, who has not had to think about what that means? And efficiency pressures means that people need to do different things and learn how to do different things all the time. And of course, labor market constraints. We found in our organization, aspirationally, that we wanted to make better business decisions through analytics. The problem is that there's not that many analysts being graduated from schools, or if they are, they're being snapped up by the Googles and the Amazons and the Walt Disneys of the world. So as an organization, we made the decision to actually grow that talent internally through a pretty long program internally developed. And so sometimes labor market constraints are going to require you to teach people skills that you never thought you'd need to teach, that you'd be able to hire outside or acquire outside. And so these are all the catalysts to why we need to evolve training and the skill set of the trainer. And here's how I go about doing that. First of all, I like the thought of being curious. I don't know if this video will play, but I love this video because what would the internet be without cat videos? Being curious is experimenting with stuff, keeping an open mind, don't say no, and have every single idea, give it a life, an opportunity to soar. Some of the best ideas that we have had as a learning function have come internally from the team, have come from outside, and we would never have come up with them if we weren't curious and if we didn't explore the world out there. Plus, I had to put a cat video in the presentation. The second thing I like to think about is use your network. These kinds of events are perfect to learn about new things. Like to use my vendors. I prefer to think of them as vendor partners, partners who can join you in a quid pro quo relationship where you have a mutual benefit. Associations are also a great opportunity. I4PL is one of them, but there's others that can provide you intelligence, information, analytics, reports, writing. My team right now is going to go through a maturity diagnostic that is going to help me assess to the extent to which my organization, my learning team, is functioning and in terms of maturity to identify gaps so that we can learn ourselves, because we are our own best learning team. Paid services, thought partners, different consultants, we use those sporadically to provide us with information from outside our organization. I've been very insular, and you guys are like, Irina, who? Like, who is she? I've never heard of her. I've been very insular in focusing on the inside of the four walls of my organization, but I've realized over the last little while that you need to kind of periodically lift your head. I don't have to tell you guys here because you're all here, to lift your head and find out what's out there, and I've been able to successfully use my connections to do that. And finally, your business partners. The people in your business are going to tell you all the stuff that they love and how they want to see the world, and your kids are a great way to do that, because my son, to this day, teaches me all the new and cool stuff, the stuff that's legit. Apparently that's the new word right now, is legit. Who knew? So no man is an island. So use your network and those folks out there. And finally, not finally, but also mobilize your team. I have 25 individuals on my team who are the tentacles that I send out there to find out new stuff. Who used to watch the Magic School Bus? Is that a thing in Quebec? Magic School Bus? Yeah? Ms. Frizzle used to say, take chances, make mistakes, get messy. And I truly and honestly believe that. So I often tell my team, get out there, go find something, learn, go to a store, go to a DC, get out there and meet with your client group, because that's the best way for you to learn who you're servicing. Because in the end, the why you do things is for the learner. You don't do it for yourself. You don't build these programs for yourself. You build these programs for the learner. And then I think about the sweet spot. What is that sweet spot? The sweet spot, and I think we somewhere, I don't know if somebody mentioned it, but really the sweet spot is the opportunity that you have to make advancements in technology in your organization. I call it the will of the organization, where the will of the organization really wants something. In other words, the reason for doing it outweighs the reason for not doing it. So the will of the organization is really, really important. The budget to do it, of course, and then the technology available to do it. Technology available to do it within the budget that you have. So one of the quotes that I have here is, when opportunity comes, it's too late to prepare. There was another quote, but it was like, if you don't prepare, you bleed, and that was from the military, and I thought that was a little harsh, so I didn't put it up here. But it might be true. 5 years ago, a single department training module cost us $300,000. One module, $300,000. We have 20 departments. That is an if the budget was, the technology was there, some of the will was there, but the budget obviously wasn't there. So pay attention to that sweet spot and be prepared for when that time happens through your POCs, your proofs of concept, or your pilots, or just dabbling in whatever technology, so that when that time is right, you can move. And finally, have fun. I think the learning space is like super cool fun. I have fun every day. That's why I still stuck around for the 38 years that I've been with Loblaws. It's fun. Who else gets to play with VR for work? So I went out there and I played with some VR headsets. I got to do that for work. I get to play games for work. I get to work with amazing people. And so my advice is stay ahead of it, ride the wave, and have fun all the way. And that's it. So thank you very much for sharing, and I really appreciate your time.